This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1213, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia, it's Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, our managing editor, downtown Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
And that's it. The guys are off today. We have a fun show coming up. Jerry from Parks and Rec, Jim O'Hare, joins us today. He has a new book out about Parks and Rec, which we love Parks and Rec, so we're very excited about this.
It's an all-time show, and if I were a character like him, I would just become Jerry at that point.
Right. Like, why even bother calling yourself Jim at this point? I know respect to Jim.
I got to do the interview, and it was very fun. He is Jerry. Like, just the whole time I was like, I'm not talking to this random Jim O'Hare. I'm talking to Jerry. Like, he is that character.
Well, who's Brian Burmonger or whatever?
Oh, Brian Burmonger,
yeah. From The Office. Kevin. He's not Kevin. No. Like, Kevin really is an act, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying Jim is Jerry?
Yeah, and I straight up asked him. I think about halfway through the interview, it came up naturally where I was like, how much of the character is really you? He did admit, I think Jerry falls more than he does.
Okay.
So
wasn't that the thing with that show is like all the characters in the show were just slightly exaggerated versions of the real people. Like, Aubrey Plaza was, Chris Pratt was basically a version of Chris Pratt. Like, they were all just slightly exaggerated versions of the real people. But I do feel like when you're in that, like when you're on like a real banger of a show that people will watch and rewatch and that people have a real affection for, you've just got it made forever. Like there are now commercials with like the cast of Modern Family in a very similar like home that's supposed to look like Jay and Gloria's or like the the kitchen or whatever. And they're never acknowledging that they are the characters, but clearly and you see the same thing, like minor characters from The Office will pop up in commercials like that from time to time, and sort of like self-referential. But this is how you know you got it made. Like I go to a lot of AAA baseball, like minor league baseball games. Very fun for a little price. And the thing about minor league baseball games is like the way they bring people in is like they try to find something additional to the game. So they'll do like dollar hot dog night or whatever. They'll do like the Office night. And it's like David Wallace and Kevin will sign some autographs on like a fold-up table between innings. And trust me, it brings in the crowds. And it's the Office night. People will dress up. But what I'm saying is like David Wallace now, he doesn't need one more role. He can just do the minor league baseball tour for forever. And people come dressed up like 3-hole punch Jim and, the whole gang. And you got it made. I bet Jerry could do the same thing. They could do Parks and Rec night. It's just Jerry at a card table signing
especially
photos.
Now that he has a new book out about inside stories from Parks and Rec. I mean, he actually could literally go sign those forever.
He's been doing kind of a rewatch podcast of Parks and Rec with someone else. And so that's like what inspired him to do the book was he realized like, he has all these little stories that people actually want to hear. So he goes like behind the scenes and I don't know, talks about it and stuff. So we talked about how he had a career obviously before Parks and Rec, but no one really knew his name. And then after Parks and Rec, like that's pretty much all he does now is Parks and Rec's related stuff. And he's like, I love it. It was the best years of my life. And I just get to keep living in that. So he's embracing it.
Good, as he should. And I have a thing for any minor league general managers out there, too. If you want to get more butts in the seats, right? Now, this is going to bend the rules because those games actually count for something. And then, it's like a G League game, basically. That's the level, Cameron. These guys are in and out of big contracts.
I know what AAA baseball is. It's the one down from majors. You're right there at the cusp. I get it.
But either way, let's just disregard the because no one really cares who wins, right? Like, you're just there to have a good time. If it's the Office night or whatever it is, like I want to see David Wallace at shortstop for one inning, right? I want to see Jerry in the catcher's gear and he gets one inning. Okay. Like that would get people in the seats. You guys have heard my theory that the ceremonial first pitch should count, right?
Yeah, it should count. And all
because
baseball
it's
games.
Because otherwise it's not a first pitch.
Yeah.
It is a pointless act. It was actually part of the game. So like I said, someone just freaking took George H.W. Bush yard. Like he lobs in a
he lobs a 45 mile an hour barely in the middle of the play.
Just a big meatball.
It, yeah.
And just takes it out. But I think the same thing about for those novelty nights at minor league parks. The celebrities should have to suit up and get one inning, you know?
I'm in. Let's do it.
Wouldn't
I do think it's funny. What?
Wouldn't you go? Like, if the Osceola, is it Osceola
Whatever.
Magic? Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. The Osceola Magic, the G League team. Yeah.
Because I'm sure at some point, the G League is going to start. I think baseball is more expensive to have because you get the big stadium and all that. But like, if you could see a promotion where if it was, let's say it's Creed from The Office. Would you rather go meet him at a card table and get him to sign a headshot or whatever? Or would you rather see him in the game for 5 minutes of magic basketball,
I would feel bad because there's people playing for their lives. They're really trying to make the league, or they're developing.
Creed might be playing for his life. I could see him doing that.
I just feel bad that the players would feel like they're being made fun of.
Well, you know what? Sorry,
they know what they're signing up
playing
for.
a sport for a living.
No, they're signing up for trying to get into the majors. They're trying to make the league. They're not like, I'm just going to fart around and be a fool. They're not the banana Savannas or whatever. The Savannah Bananas.
Well, listen, if they are humiliated by having to play with minor characters from early aughts sitcoms, maybe it's a little bit more motivating to kick it up a notch in the gym.
I think your idea works for double A and single A. Triple A, we got to say, all right, they're playing serious baseball here, but like. You get your double A teams. Yeah, I think we should.
The more serious the baseball, the funnier it is. It's basically major league level competition, and you just have someone who's only out there. It's like an aging Tony Danza doing one last for the 40 years of Who's the Boss minor league tour, and we got him out in center. And they're cracking a fly ball. Let's see what he can do out there. Let's see who's the boss now.
Let's see who's the boss now. Oh, my gosh. All right. At the end of the show, we have you guys send them in. We have a life advice segment where you guys send us in your questions, but it's the Thanksgiving edition. Specifically, you had a lot of questions about Thanksgiving. So we'll tackle those at the end of the show.
Are you guys hosting Thanksgiving? Are you traveling? Are you going somewhere? What's the story?
I was forced to host it the last 3 years and opted out. So we're going to a restaurant because my mom won't cook anymore. So.
Yeah, Emily.
I felt really adult this year. I was really proud of myself. Last year I had to travel all the way to Texas, obviously for Thanksgiving. That's where my family is. And this year I said I'm not traveling all that way to Texas again because it's just either a long drive or an expensive flight. So we're meeting halfway in Arkansas, where I have a couple aunts and uncles and cousins. So yeah. I decided the family plans this year, which I know that means nothing to you guys, but it's the first time I've ever gotten to make my own family plans, and it was nice.
It's a Cameron, with having hosted, we're all having to make that adult decision. We are hosting family from out of town, but I insisted on have fried turkey. And I will be the one frying it, because frying have either of you guys fried the turkey before?
Absolutely
no, I've never done fried turkey. I always get the turkey I buy the turkey from Publix or somebody that can cook it right, and I just heat it up. I know you tried frying a couple years ago,
and it introduces a real element of danger to the day.
Right.
The first year we did it, my father-in-law and I watched YouTube videos on what not to do. And there are some horrific videos out there.
Oh, I know. We watched them last year. We played them on the show.
That's right.
Literally local fire departments putting out PSA videos of do not burn your house down. And here's how to do it correctly, because people are burning their houses down.
Well, this year I'm thinking about what else I can throw in that fryer. I'm thinking about getting a couple of these fryers going. I've got enough Thanksgivings under my belt where let's get weird this year. You know what I mean? Let's put some, the fried Oreos. I want to get very creative. I'm pretty excited about this because
I air fry all the time. I've never fried anything in oil. How do you know when it's cooked through? Like let's say you fry a fish or something like that. How do you know how long to put it in there or what temperature to put it at?
I actually just had this conversation with some guys I work with because we were talking about this very topic, and I apply the same philosophy I do when I grill. I eyeball it and go with my gut.
Yeah,
I don't believe
you can eyeball the crust only. You don't know what's going on inside of it.
You feel it. No, there's calculations online of however many pounds of turkey is how long you leave it in there.
Okay.
But sometimes I like to pull it a little early, get it a little nice and tender. A
little raw.
We'll see. We'll be all right.
A little pink on the inside.
Just a little.
Like a nice medium rare. Is this what you're going
That's
for?
That's right. A lot of
That's the danger that you're talking about that you want to implement.
Rare poultry.
Salmonella.
Rare poultry gets a bad rap.
It does for legitimate reasons, but yes, you're right. It does get a bad rap. That is true. True statement. Oh man, that's my thing. Is I would experiment with air fryers more but the fear is you can only eyeball the outside. So I just don't know what's going on in the dead middle of whatever it is that I threw in there.
You could do what I do is hastily Google it.
You could also check it and then just put it back.
How do you check it? Like a meat thermomometer?
Yeah, or cut it open or something and then put it back in. It's fine.
I've never used a meat thermometer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't believe in them. I think
because the only time I would need one is steaks, but I know how to tell the temperature of a steak based on how soft or hard it is. You can tell with your hand and your thumb, like right here in between your thumb and your whatever. That's rare, and then as you go down your as it gets more firm, medium rare, and you can just test it with your utensil, to see kind of what's going on the inside. Plus, rare meat, who cares? You're not going to get sick.
Rare, real talk last weekend. We had a long weekend. Dana was really tired. I was I'm taking care of dinner tonight. And I didn't have any plan. I just walked into the grocery store, zero plan, right? I'm just going to walk around and it's going to hit me.
Hamburger helper.
No, they had a pack of steaks that was about to expire. It was a really good deal. They had 1 day left, So I got those bad boys.
Were they gray?
The edges. Trim it right off.
You can't call it gray meat. Dana, I got dinner. Gray meat, right everybody.
But I bet it was probably $2 or something like that, something insanely cheap.
It was 6 steaks for $15. It was a great deal. It's a great
That's
deal.
One step above dog food, man.
It was a fantastic deal. And then so I was all right, well, I got a good deal in steaks. I can splurge here. So I walked over to the seafood counter.
Okay.
And I was kind of looking around. I was like, dude, they got lobster tails in here.
Oh my God.
Were they gray? Don't buy gray.
No, well, it doesn't matter. They were natural lobster color, and they were on ice, and they were $5 a piece. I was like, dude, with the money I saved on steak, I could buy 4 of these, and we do a little surf and turf. The whole everyone in the family is lobster tail. So anyway, I'm loading up, and as I'm about to the guy's putting them in butcher paper or whatever, and as I'm about to go, I was I've realized I've never cooked lobster tail, and I was do I put this in the grill? I don't know. And so I was like, hey man, how do you do this? He's like, oh, you just put it in boiling water with Old Bay. I was like, oh, easy, got plenty of that. And I was like, how long do you put it in there? And he kind of shrugged his shoulders. He's like, I don't know. You just kind of know, I was like, really? There's no time? He goes, I don't know, a minute. I was like, a minute? That doesn't seem long enough. And he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, you always put them back in, though. I was like, well, what am I looking for? He's like, you just know. I was like, he's the most unhelpful butcher ever. I mean, he's
not a chef. He just cuts it up.
He just cuts it.
He acted like he knew. And so anyway, I got home.
You can grill lobster tail, by the way. It's fantastic on the grill.
Well, I put them in, and I'm pulling them out after a minute, and I Google, and it says 3 to 13 minutes. I'm like, this guy has no idea. This guy is putting
also,
people
that's
in
a
danger.
Wide range.
I know.
But I'm assuming it's, I was going to say, I guess, based on how rare you want it, but yeah, that's not really.
Well, that's the thing. The first one I tried, I was like, that's a little rare. That I don't know what raw lobster tastes like, but I would imagine it tastes like that. I dropped them all back in. But anyway, it was, it was a fun little thing. It was fun to roll the dice and
then Is that why you were sick for the next 6 days after that? Because you tried to
I didn't put my finger on it, but it was either that or the gray edges I put to the side and grilled up for myself. Of the steaks.
It was either the gray meat or the raw lobster tail. Guys, but everybody in the house got sick after Dad made dinner.
Guys, I got a whole surf and turf dinner for like $30. Okay,
for four surf and turf for four.
It was great.
Was everyone else as excited as you about the surf and turf?
I refused to tell them. I came back in from the store with bags. They're like, "What'd you get?" I was like, "Oh, you'll find out." And I went out there and did my thing, grilled them up, got the boiling water, and plated them and brought them in for surf and turf. It's a big thrill for everybody.
Did you do like the garlic butter, melted garlic butter for the surf?
No. It was just straight up boiled Old Bay water.
Dude, no, I'm saying for dipping the lobster tail in. No, lobster tail. You dip it in the melted butter.
No, I didn't even have the right utensils. We were all like savages breaking apart with like sticking our fingers in there trying to dig it out.
Oh my gosh.
You need those little tiny
You need the little tiny thing, but you've got to have little melted butter dishes and stuff for the lobster. Anyway.
I feel like this is the information the butcher should have given me. He was the one selling it. Clearly I didn't know what I was doing.
I'm really concerned that he actually only boils this lobster tail for a minute. And he like genuinely thinks, yeah, that's great. That's how it's supposed to taste.
He looked like the type of guy that, was pretty comfortable rolling the dice with stuff like that. Like he had the look in his eye like, okay.
He's the one who's going home at the end of the day when they close up with the gray meat that nobody bought. Yeah.
I looked at it was like, this is a guy who's taking some risk in life. I was like, oh, okay, I got it. Yeah, I'm probably asking too many questions. He's not a big question type of guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving the show along. After this break, it's Slices. Today's show is also brought to you in part by Upside Down Kingdom Bible. Think deeply and love widely with the new NIV Upside Down Kingdom Bible. This study Bible provides readers with thoughtful, scripture-based notes from a diverse set of trusted Christian voices and explores difficult issues facing Christians today. With features that are honest, nuanced, and filled with grace, topics such as race and ethnicity, creation care, science, abortion, gender and sexuality, politics, and others. Learn more at UpsideDownKingdomBible.com or find it wherever books are sold. All right, it's time for Slices. What do you have, Jesse?
All right. Well,
oh no.
Speaking of things getting weird, I think that should have just been one of the campaign slogans this year for either of the candidate. Let's get weird, or let's just see what happens. And that's kind of been confirmed by some recent cabinet appointees because, listen, politics, everyone's personal politics aside, we've got some curveballs here. Okay. Some names no one's really thought.
Got some mugshots.
Well, listen, we're just making stuff up now. We got a whole Doge department. We got a cabinet of Doge. We're literally just making things up at this point. Okay,
yeah.
There are no rules. All right, so that's why I think the new president should consider a plea from a very well-known figure in the wildlife world because he believes that he would be a great head of the cabinet of the Federal Fish and Wildlife. He wants to be the Federal Fish and Wildlife Director.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got some pretty strong words. He says, I had no idea there was so much controversy about this former cabinet member, but he said it's time to bring some honesty to this department because that former director, Dan Ash, only looked out for himself in this position within and his position within the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Basically, one, I had no idea there was an association of zoos and aquariums. Seems like those should be two associations to me. I'm just saying.
Two separate ones. Yeah.
Yeah. But evidently there's some corruption there because this person who is vying for this position thinks Dan Ash didn't do a great job. He could do a better job. One problem, this person is currently in federal prison and is not scheduled to get out till 2035. So in addition to the cabinet position, he's also going to need a pardon. This person is none other than Joe Exotic. If this happened, if this happened, I don't even think it would be the most surprising or outrageous.
Honestly, it'd be just yet another mugshot to go with the other cabinet members' mugshots. That's wild. Joe Exotic is actually publicly asking for a pardon and an appointment.
I feel like he's done this before. I feel like the last time Trump was president, he asked for a pardon.
He was asking for a pardon, but he wasn't asking to be part of the cabinet.
Sure. He's taking it up a notch. I'll give him that. But
so honestly, funny. At this point, why not? Like, there are more, like, what is the worst that could happen here? Like,
I mean, there's a lot of bad things that could happen.
Putting Joe Exotic near any branch of government does not feel like a good move.
Jesse, I feel like you eating gray meat and undercooked lobster you've thrown all caution to the wind. You don't care anymore. What's the worst that could happen? That's going to
be the new normal if Joe Exotic gets to be.
Because I rode pretty close. I flew pretty close to the sun and I came out just fine. And not only did I come out fine, I had a great meal that cost me personally like just under $6. So yeah. Sometimes you take risk but I do like how there's just new cabinet positions that didn't exist. The funniest thing is the Department of Government Efficiency, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen the Washington Dreams, like the Nate Bargatze memes going around? Where it'll be like it's George Washington with his hand on one of the Patriots' shoulders, and it'll be someone, kind of repeating one of the lines from the sketch. But the Patriots is saying, so what master of efficiency will lead this department, sir? And he goes, actually, there will be 2 men to do one person's job. But I think we should just open up more like Bill Simmons has always said, like he thinks there should be like a sports czar that kind of sets, some high level policies.
Oversees the NCAA, pro sports leagues. Yeah, sure.
I was thinking, especially now there's gambling involved and everything, like just one, solid.
Hey, sports needs regulation. No joke. I mean, that really actually in this modern era should be added to the federal government.
I think we could break up the FCC a little and have like a social media czar. And then this might be a little granular, but hear me out. I think we need a texting, like the head of texting.
Oh.
Like,
what are we talking about? What do they do all day? What's a 40-hour a week look like for them?
It's not 40 hours a week. We got a whole department here. Okay. We got a whole cabinet of officials thinking through all the stuff related to tech. Okay. One, when I'm typing and I hit space, do you know how many times I hit the period and it creates like a long string of words with periods in between? It's infuriating. We should figure this out by now. We need a cabinet. Emojis. They're too important to just have like Apple or whoever creates emojis. These private corporations, they've become part of language. They should be determined by some sort of department here.
You know they are, right? It's global. It's a federal. There is a global consortium every year that votes on new emojis possibilities. Once they approve them, the Unicode version of them, the universal version of them, then Apple makes their illustration of that emoji. Google, Android makes their version, and others can. That's why they'll look a little different if you're in Google Chat or if you're on an Android phone or if you're at Apple. But they're all coming from the same code, which is approved and voted on by tech leaders globally every year.
I'm uncomfortable with some one world government of emoji experts. This is an American thing. Okay?
This is an American thing. Okay. But what if you're texting somebody who lives in the UK? There needs to be a universal.
Unfortunately, under the new cabinet, texting people outside the country is now illegal. It's a national security issue. I don't like it. It's got something to do with tariffs. That's what I know. I just think we need to bring it in house. I think it's just gotten a little fast and loose out there. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, I think, there should be also like, remember like the food pyramid? It was just suggestions.
Yeah. The FDA. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they should have suggestions for text message etiquette too, released by the federal government. So we don't all like you should have there. It should be federal policy. You get 48-hour window to respond to something. Like this should just be. There's just a whole range of issues that I feel like I said, if we're just making stuff up at this point anyway, like I said, we got a Doge report. Why not just make a couple more? That's all I'm saying.
So your solution to the Department of Government Efficiency is to add more government.
Well, yes. Yeah, it is.
Okay, got it. Okay, just check. Let's expand what we're trying to make more efficient. Got it. Okay.
I mean, again, if we are making things up at this point, we might as well. I do feel like every election, whenever cabinet appointments come around, I am always reminded that there are a lot of cabinets that I have no idea exist. Like, it's always shocking to me.
Like what? I don't know. I thought there was like 12. I literally thought it was like they had a meeting around a table.
I just feel like I see some that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. And at this point, I just kind of accept. Like, honestly, I didn't realize that the Department of Government Efficiency, because I hadn't seen like the Doge part of it yet. Like, I saw like the full name. I assumed that was like already an established cabinet, and then I read like, oh, that's a new one. Okay, cool.
Okay, well, first of all, there's 15 cabinet positions. 15.
I feel like there's more than that. I feel like I've seen
the White House
75 people's names this week thrown out.
No. These aren't cabinet positions. They're just departments and stuff like that. That would be under a certain cabinet.
Sure. Okay. I guess that's what I mean. Is there's not cabinets, then department.
There's millions.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Like the department heads, not just the 15 cabinet heads. The department heads. There's always so many departments that I'm like, I didn't even know this existed. Like, why is this person? What are they doing?
Well, while we're at it, if the Association of Zoos and Aquariums are going to break up for obvious reasons, I think both of those deserve their own cabinet head, just because it'd be hilarious to have a secretary of zoos. And like, it's just, hey man, we got someone establishing zoo policy up in Washington, just thinking about zoos all the time.
You want Joe Exotic heading up zoo policy? I think we saw with our own eyes that that's not a good idea.
Do you know how much zoo attendance nationally would go up if Joe Exotic was over a federal zoo cabinet? When's the last time either one of you guys been to the zoo?
I mean,
if Joe Exotic took over, if Joe Exotic was installed on January 20th, by February you'd be going to zoos just to see what happened out there.
I live less than a mile from the Nashville Zoo.
Do you smell it?
No.
Oh.
But I also hold my nose every time I walk outside. So I
feel bad for our local zoo because our local zoo is on the north side of Orlando. It's up in Sanford, and it's been around forever. It's just a normal, mid-rank zoo. And then down at Disney, they built Animal Kingdom, which has a cage-free safari experience and amazing animal encounters and all this stuff. It's like I feel bad for the local trying to hang on and compete with Disney, but. So anyway, to answer your question, I've been on the safari at Animal Kingdom not that long ago, but I have not been to the local zoo since a field trip in third grade. So
if Joe Exotic was running things, I guarantee attendance would go up just out of the curiosity. Yeah.
What's different now?
Yeah, you would have to sign a waiver.
The monkeys aren't in a cage that you can they can join your party as you walk.
Yeah, you would have to sign a waiver to go to the zoo. That's what I'm talking about.
If we split it up, like you said, someone has to be over zoos, someone has to be over aquariums. I think it'd be funny if Joe Exotic was over the zoo and then his arch nemesis, I don't remember the woman's name, but if she was over aquariums, that could be fun.
Carol Baskins.
Carol Baskin, yeah.
Yeah.
She can be over aquariums. I don't know if she wants to be, but they would definitely run their departments very differently. And we could see who's the better one.
I mean, they all have mugshots, so they would qualify.
I would just love to be flipping through and you go by C-SPAN and they're having a real serious, televised congressional meeting and it's all zoo talk. It's just different. We could, the bars can be 6 inches apart or we can see if they can get out if we stretch them out to 8. I don't know. Let's just try it. I want to see that in a big congressional hearing, bring in live animals, like a late night show.
Like Noah's Ark.
It's pretty cool.
All right. What do you have, Emily?
Okay, so there is this sort of growing trend that I've been seeing on my social media. And when I brought it up with people, I've realized that it's definitely something in the girls' algorithm. It might not necessarily be in the guys' algorithm. So I kind of want to talk about it just in case it makes it into y'all's feed, what this is and what's happening. Have either of you guys seen anything about this 4B movement that is going on right now?
Jesse, have you?
I don't know enough about it to talk about it in an informed way, but I've seen it referenced. I'll say that.
So I saw a post. Lisa Bevere reposted somebody last week that was about 4B. And I called Emily and said, what's this about? What is this? And so I know about it because Emily, you told me about it. But since that conversation, I don't know if it's just now I'm noticing it more because I know what it is, but I have absolutely seen it including this morning. I saw it mentioned on somebody's TikTok. So, what's going on with it?
Yeah, I think most people, like, within the last week and a half is the first time they've ever seen the 4B movement, which makes sense. Post-election, like, I saw a ton of content, people bringing it up. But it actually started in South Korea back in 2016, and it's been going on in South Korea for the last almost 10 years. 4B is shorthand for 4 Korean words that all start with the letter B. I will not be pronouncing them because I would not be anywhere close to them. But the 4 words translate to no marriage, no childbirth, no dating, and no sex with men. And so the whole point of this movement is women saying that they are pretty much abstaining from all things men, or at least like romantic relationships with men, in order to sort of like establish autonomy and say, like, I'm in charge of what I want to do with my life and I don't need a man anymore. And it's an interesting movement. I don't think it's taking off in the US, though. I think people are bringing it up because they want it to take off, but everyone is like not really latching onto it. And there's some funny jokes about it.
Where I've seen it is like girls saying dating is such a cesspool now, or the first dates are so awkward now. I'm just going to join 4B, like that. Yeah. So I'm seeing it as kind of a joke that I'm over how toxic the dating culture is.
What is it? Is it in response to something specific, or just the idea of relationships that have dependent dynamics?
Well, I mean, think about Korea, though. I mean, I would think there would probably be a patriarchy dynamic that's pretty significant. So this sounds like it's a rebellion movement against that. Right?
Yeah, and that's what it is. It started with a lot of women in South Korea were like, we just feel like we're being mistreated. We're feeling like you're
second-class citizens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they have said, like, if you are going to kind of not see us as equals, we are not going to try to treat you as equals. And so they're living separately. And like, honestly, it's been kind of successful in South Korea. They actually have like a really low birth rate that they're actually struggling with because women actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not internet jokes like in the US. It's like affecting birth rate. Holy cow.
So statistically, in order to keep a population steady in the US, in any country, women need to have about 2 kids in order to maintain the population. South Korea's birth rate is every woman's having 0.81 kids. Like they're having way less than what they need to maintain the population. So it's like declining each year.
Is there are there specific social things that they want to see changed, or is it kind of, more, I guess, kind of like an umbrella response to patriarchal, is that the right adjective for that?
Patriarchal.
Sort of injustices, or are there like specific things they want to see changed?
Yeah, there are some specific outcomes. Like they don't have necessarily a specific, like, we need X amount of women in power, but they do want more women in power, whether that's politically, whether that's in jobs, things like that. Also some health stuff. They feel like their health care is disregarded and men are prioritized. So there's some different things on that. So yes, there's things they're looking for and they feel like they haven't happened yet. So that's why it's still happening in South Korea.
It's so interesting that it jumped from South Korea to the US. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know K-pop is a big thing and stuff. Culturally, there's a lot of connection with Korean culture, but it's interesting that it went this way instead of like more into the more Asian countries, or maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I've really only seen it in South Korea. I knew about it a couple months ago because I have a friend living in South Korea who she shared a post about it, and I thought that was really interesting. I never imagined it would come to the U.S., so I think it's interesting that it's come up now. But again, I don't think it's going to take off. Most people I see are saying like they're really only going to do it just because the dating pool is so negative. I think it's funny that I guess I've technically been a part of the 4B movement for my life because I'm not married and I don't have kids and I'm not having I guess I'm a 4B'er. I don't know what the word is. So
that's kind of what Lisa Bevere's post was kind of saying, kind of like, hey, Christian women, like, this is good. We should celebrate this. This is, no premarital sex and Yeah. Like women are embracing this for other reasons than just spiritual reasons. So like we should be, celebrating this. But I feel like the people who are truly living the 4B lifestyle, I mean, that's no marriage. That's not, like, this is no children. This is like, I am going to die single as a deliberate choice.
Right.
So it's not quite what the church is preaching about abstinence until marriage, but
it seems
we'll
like
claim that.
We'll take it while we have it.
Kind of rejection of the notion of romantic,
promiscuity and or that you need to be romantic.
What I'm saying is like any romantic, relationship, like not just the, physical part. It seems like it's a rejection of the notion to a degree.
I like this, Emily. Like you can be our translator. You can educate me and Jesse on what's happening in women's social media circles because we don't know. So I like that. Was that your slice? Just telling us what 4B is about?
Well, I wanted to tell you all that. There was another slice I had that is definitely more slicey, but I just, got to keep the guys informed.
You just wanted to make sure that we were in the loop about what's happening in the women's world. I love it.
Like I said, like I've seen the 4B movement come up more, and I think because I happen to have a friend who kind of sort of taught me about it a few months ago. I forget not everyone is as chronically online as I am. So
I literally, when I saw it this morning, I told you this video is like a female comedian, and she was just like, "Hey, I just want to give a shout out to all the women out there going on first dates. You're putting yourself out there. It's hard, and you're just trying to not get murdered because you're hoping that maybe this guy will love you for the rest of your life." And then she's like, me personally, I'm probably just going to join the 4B movement and whatever. Had you not told me what it was last week, I would have been confused by the post. I mean, I don't like.
You're welcome.
How do you find out what this stuff is? So,
Cameron, to be fair, we both brought very important slices. Hers has a multi-generational, spiritual, transnational, and ultimately existential. Relevance because it could dictate the future of humanity.
Yeah,
mine. We get to pontificate openly about a federal position to worry about aquariums. So I think we're both doing good work
importance.
Here. I think we're both doing good stuff.
I think so too. All right. Is that it?
I do have one more thing actually that I did want to talk to y'all about.
Hit us.
That I think you guys will have a lot of insight on and maybe you can help me out with. But I don't know if y'all saw this. Warner Brothers is selling 10 completely functional Batmobiles. Like, do y'all remember in The Dark Knight, wait, Dark
Knight Batmobiles or like Adam West Batmobiles?
No, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight Batmobiles.
Oh, heck yeah. The tank looking ones?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Why are they selling them? Wait, are they old props that they're getting rid of, or are they they built them now? Like, what's the story?
They didn't say. From what I've seen, they just came up with them and are selling them. I assume they're old props that they're like, I guess we got to get rid of these at some point.
I think they're drivable though.
Yeah, no, they're fully functional, which I will say, I kind of get a little triggered seeing Cybertrucks because they're so ugly. I would not be triggered if I saw a Batmobile. I would actually be pretty thrilled if I saw one of those on the street.
Can I be honest, though? If you were to say, look, you can take one of these, because they almost look like tanks or some sort of like four-wheeler type of, thing. Or you could take that Adam West purple convertible with those big, cool 1960s
Bubbles.
fins on it.
Yeah.
I think I'm taking the Adam West. I think I'd be more impressed if one of those rolled by. I think the swag factor is way higher on an old Adam West Batmobile.
No way. I'm all Christopher Nolan. I'm in on that one. Do you remember, Jesse, like one of the, they obviously shot all three of the Nolan movies in Chicago. We know that's the Gotham. Yeah. You remember the summer we were at Lollapalooza and they were shooting, I think, the second Nolan film while we were there?
Dark Knight, yeah.
Yeah, they were we were staying at a hotel in downtown Chicago, right on the river, and they shot a lot of the chase scenes and stuff. If you know Chicago's downtown, there's a lower layer to it. That's where they pick up the trash and things like that. That's why there's no trash on the streets, and emergency vehicles can get around without traffic and all that. That's where they shot a lot of the chase scenes and all that. I'm talking to the listeners, but there was also stuff above ground and like explosions and cars flipping over and stuff. And we were there at Lollapalooza in the middle of the summer. And they were blocking off a lot of the downtown streets because overnight they were shooting chase scenes, car scenes, things like that. And I remember one morning just walking out of the front door of the hotel to go down to the festival. Like there was all the aftermath of what they had shot the night before. There's like cars flipped over. It looked like a bomb exploded and war happened right in front of our hotel in downtown Chicago. It was super cool. Like obviously we hadn't seen the movie yet, but just like seeing like it was like real stuff. That's what I love about those Batman movies. It doesn't look like CG.
Yeah.
It looks like real effects, and like no, it's real effects. We saw the shooting and stuff. It was really awesome.
Did you see any of the actors? Like, could you make out who they were?
No, they weren't shooting during the day. It was like all night scenes.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So we saw it the next morning. But,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Dark Knight. It actually, fun fact for everyone, it is the movie that made me love movies. I saw it when I was in middle school, and I realized, this is what movies could be. And that is why it's always one of my top 10s.
Seems like that's a little mature for a middle schooler.
Middle school girl.
I mean, it's about a psychotic.
I saw it in theater with my dad.
It's about a psychotic terrorist that self-mutilated his face and is taking hostages. It seems like a pretty intense decision to take a fifth grader. Not gonna lie.
Okay, when did it come out? 2000. I was 12.
Okay. Wow. Big difference.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No,
sorry.
11. Sorry. You were sixth grade, not fifth grade.
I was doing the math thinking I was like, it was way big.
Let me do the math. That was a summer block. Oh, it was the summer after fifth grade. My bad. Your dad is
it's when I became an adult that summer. Yeah.
By the way, I just sent you guys a picture of the Adam West Batmobile. I think when you see it, when you're reminded, you're like, okay, that's the right choice. That thing is, if that thing rolled up.
Wait, that actually is pretty sweet.
I would legitimately be more impressed to see that roll in.
How much are these? How much are they going for, Emily? You didn't mention.
Oh, just for a real cheap price of $3 million each.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. I think that's why there's only 10.
So Warner Brothers, the movie industry is doing so bad right now. They're selling stuff.
That's
so they
what
can
I
make
think.
$30 million.
They haven't said that, but I kind of have a feeling like Warner Brothers, which they are actually struggling, like they are in. I don't know how much they're in debt, but there's been a lot of reports that they are struggling financially. I do think they're selling this to get money.
Well, I don't want to jump to editorial question of the week, and this is kind of a weird one, but so I don't know if it warrants a question of the week, but if you could have any car from a movie, but here's the caveat, you can't sell it. You actually have to drive it around. Okay. You can never sell it. There's the obvious ones. There's like the Ghostbusters and the DeLorean. There's Batmobiles. Which one are you taking? Any car from a movie?
See, unfortunately, the first thing that came to mind was the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo, but I don't actually want that.
Okay. I was saying, first of all, it's animated. I forgot there was live action in your generation. The live action Scooby-Doo was probably more prevalent than the animation. DeLorean, no question. 100%, no question. With the flux capacitor in it, that's the one.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the obvious ones are some of the cool ones from Fast and Furious, or even.
But those aren't iconically from a movie. Those are just great cars,
Yeah, but I feel like if you rolled up in one that Dom Toretto had, people would recognize it,
Go straight Tokyo Drift, just a bunch of drifter cars,
the A-Team van is sweet. Do you guys remember the A-Team?
Yeah, sure, A-Team van, sure.
Yeah. There's a lot.
It's similar to your Mystery Machine, Emily, but it's black instead of purple. Just the same thing.
Blue, but okay, yeah.
I just Googled it for a refresher. I mean, honestly, you could probably purchase a van just like this for not that much for a very achievable amount. But
if it's still operating, a 40-year-old van, 50-year-old van, I don't know if they would be.
You can get a resto mod. They'll restore those and bring. But could you imagine if someone rolls up and because the A-Team, it's not like it has this cult following. It was a pretty corny show. They no one is just Mr. T was a star. It knew what it was. No one is out there just fanboying for A-Team. When they did the movie remake with Bradley Cooper, I don't know, 15 years ago, it was a big flop. There's no A-Team fanboys. I would just love to see someone just fully commit to the A-Team van and just roll up everywhere. And they were like, "Oh, big fan of the A-Team." They're like, "No, not really. It's just I just wanted the van really bad. The show was terrible.
It's just a cool car."
Yep. All right. Well, that'll do it for Slices. Make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com every day where we're covering stuff like that and a lot more at the intersection of faith and culture. Thanks. All right. Stay tuned after this break. Jim O'Hare joins us. Can you quote Peter Griffin and St. Augustine? Are you a fan of Theo Von and the Nicene Creed? If so, Not the Sermon is the podcast for you. Join Jamie and Eric, a senior pastor and associate pastor, for a hilarious blend of comedy and theology. They roast church culture, parody modern worship, and discuss tough theological topics. This blend of the silly and the sacred is your new podcast obsession. Search for Not the Sermon anywhere you listen to podcasts. Today's show is brought to you in part by Ricky Smiley's new book, Sideshow. Have you experienced devastating loss? Ricky Smiley, comedian and radio show host, shares his journey through grief and healing after losing his son and father to addiction in his new book, Sideshow. Discover hope, encouragement, and tools to practice how to hold the good with the grief, the past gifts with the present heartache, the hope with the hurt. Learn more about this autobiographical book that can serve as a helpful resource at sideshowbook.com. Well, our guest today is Jim O'Heir. You know him as Jerry from Parks and Rec. He's releasing a brand new book called Welcome to Pawnee that goes behind the scenes of one of our favorite sitcoms. He sat down with Emily to tell us more about his time on the show, including how he almost ended up as a very different character. Here's our conversation with Jim O'Heir.
Well, I would love to know what made you want to audition for the role of Jerry in the first place.
Well, at first I auditioned for Ron Swanson. It was the hot show at the time, and it was the untitled Amy Poehler project. That's all I knew of it. And you talk to different actors at different auditions, and you're hearing about this project. And the word was, not that we knew this for sure being on the outside, but it was going straight to series. That doesn't happen a lot, Emily. Like that's like that's the dream. And so my people got me in to audition for Ron Swanson, and it went well. I can't imagine anyone other than Nick Offerman playing Ron Swanson, because that would make no sense in any world that I know of. But it was, I did my version of what I thought Ron would be. And then I had a fun connection with Mike and Greg in the room. And so my goal at the time, to be honest, it wasn't even to get the gig, because I knew this was such a high profile gig. And at this point, I'm just a journeyman actor, going from show to show, guesting, and, pilots that come and go. I just wanted to make a good impression for Mike and Greg, because they're the people who are producing The Office. And now they got this new show, and I want them to keep me in mind. Like, hey, we could use this guy as a guest star or whatever. So when I left, I felt good. Like, that went well. I didn't embarrass myself in front of these guys. And also Allison Jones, who was the casting director, who is, I think, one of the greatest casting directors who's ever been in that position. The careers she has started, I interviewed her for the book, and I said to her, do you understand what you've done for people's lives? I mean, she has changed people's lives. And she's so humble, and of course, she takes no credit for it, but she should. But anyway, by 2 weeks later, I get a call from my agent, and they said, that Amy Poehler project, they want you to read for a different role, a guy named Jerry. Okay. They didn't hate me, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. So there really was no Jerry technically. They had to create some material for people to audition with. And when I got to the audition, Emily, I realized, because a lot of times when you go to an audition, you're going to see a lot of people like you. There's going to be, in my case, the big guy, whatever, the comedy, whatever. But in this room, it was everybody. There was Asian and African American and white, so color was all over the place. There was big, there was small, there was tall, there was short. So they didn't know what they were looking for, which is a little that could be a little scary, because now you're opening up your competition to a lot more people. But I went in the room, I did the audition, and it felt good, but that means nothing, because believe me, I've left a lot of auditions feeling good and never heard another word, believe me. But they called and they said they want to put you on this show, and they were really, really sweet about it, because they told my reps, we want to be honest with you, we have 6 regular characters on this show, and we have to service them, because they have to. They got to, so they didn't know what it meant for me. Am I going to be there in an episode, 2 episodes? No one knew. And so my reps were concerned for me, which was sweet, but they're like, are you sure you want to do this? Because you don't want to feel like a background player. And there's nothing wrong with being a background player, other than at this point in my career, I had only, at this point, I'm only doing guest stars or featured roles or something like that. But for me, Emily, it was a no-brainer, because I was such a fan of The Office, and I knew what had happened to Kevin and Phyllis and Stanley and Oscar, and Angela. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And I thought, worst case scenario, I sit on this set with people like Amy Poehler for a couple of weeks, and I have a good time and life goes on. But then whatever miracle happened. And then, of course, when I interviewed Greg Daniels, he told me, and this is something I did not know, he said they knew from the beginning I would be sticking around. I said, no one ever told me that. And I said, for a guy who's always nervous about everything, he goes, I'm so sorry. He goes, I just thought you knew. No, I did not know, Greg. I was always terrified. And then season 2, they made Retta and I, in the middle of the season, they told us we were going to become series regulars. And that was one of the most exciting phone calls I've ever gotten in my life. I remember I was in line getting a rental car in Miami. I forget what I was even doing in Miami. And my manager calls and she goes, hi, they want to start the paperwork for you to be a series regular. I yelled in the line. I went, yes, in the line of maybe Hertz. I don't know, whatever car I was renting. Because that's a fun phone call. When Retta and I went back for the next episode, they did this big announcement for us, in front of everybody, in front of the writers and the producers. And it was just lovely, really special. That's the kind of place it was. We were the kind of place that other actors, the word got out and other actors wanted to guest on our show. So they would be telling their reps, try to get me on Parks and Rec, because the word had been out there that we have fun. The material is amazing. And the set is just somewhere you want to be. Which I love it. When I've been doing this podcast, the Parks and Recollection podcast, I love when we have the guests on who will say, oh my God, it was one of my most fun experiences ever. Because, you go on these shows and shows can be cliquey because the main cast are together every week and guest stars come and go. And so sometimes they don't even talk to you, but I can guarantee you, if you came into our hair and makeup trailer and none of us knew you, we knew you by the end of that your first day in hair and makeup, because everybody greeted you and welcomed you. It was just the nature of what was going on there.
I recently finished a rewatch of Parks and Rec, and I personally was surprised at how much hope is in each episode. As you've rewatched it for the Parks and Recollection podcast that you co-host, has there been anything surprising that stuck out to you?
I just wish I could have known, because when you say stressful, Emily, you're not. I mean, we would all be on this text chain, because in May, now they still do upfronts a little bit, but in the old days, upfront was the big moment. What shows are coming? What shows are going? And we never, shows like The Office, they knew every year they were coming back. Like they had, and for an actor, there's no greater gift than wrapping a season and knowing, I'll see you guys in August because we're going to be back. We never had that until the last couple of seasons. No, it was. I just, if I could look back and just say to myself, relax, it's all going to be fine. But we would be texting, what have you heard? What have you heard? Amy would go, I haven't heard anything. And then Mike would jump in, Mike Shore, and go, you guys, I don't know anything, because it's because Rob Lowe tells a story. He once went to fly to New York because his show got picked up, whatever the show was. And when he landed, they said, no, it's not happening now. It's being pulled. So, I mean, this stuff is so fluid. So every year, I wish I could have enjoyed knowing that we had a future. I think that's what I would have enjoyed more. But there was also something pretty cool about when you are on the edge of your seat and you finally get that text saying, you guys, we got another season. And let me tell you, Emily, there's screaming and there's yelling. And again, it's not just because it's a job. For an actor, of course, we want a job. But we got to be together again. And when I say we, I don't just mean this amazing cast, but this crew and these producers and these writers. It all came together. These are people that I love. I love them. The thought of not getting a goodbye would have just killed me. So it was, it was a mixed blessing. But no, if I could look back, I just would say, take a breath and don't be so panicky. Because Retta jokes all the time, because Retta and I, we shared a trailer, not inside that we split a trailer. I had one side, she had the other. And she, so we were always with each other. If you couldn't find me, you looked in her trailer. If you couldn't find her, you looked in my trailer. And she'd be like, okay, you got to relax. I go, I know, but there's so much writing on this. She goes, I know, but there's nothing we can do about it. And Mike Shore used to always say to us, you guys, all we can do is the work. We can't control anything else. So let's every week just put out this amazing show, and then everything will fall into place. And he was 100% right.
Well, I know it's been several years since the show ended. So has your perspective on your time filming it changed at all?
Emily, I have every day I'm shocked because to the good and the bad of me doing this Parks and Recollection, the bad is I realize what a terrible memory I have. The good is I'm constantly blown away by things I forgot that happened. And I totally enjoy them again. And that was the same thing when I was writing the book, because I got to learn things about this show that I never knew. I had no idea, because I got to sit down with Mike Schur and Greg Daniels, who created this show, and they told me things I couldn't have known because I wasn't there when the minds were creating this amazing show. And so, yeah, I'm constantly blown away. And when we do the podcast, we'll also have, a lot of guest stars. The cast has been there and writers and everybody, and they will tell stories. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's amazing. Because I always say, and I know it sounds cliche to say that we were a family, but it really was a special place. And, I see these late night shows and I see the different guests, and I'm a guy who, if you look me up, I've been on a lot of different shows over the years. Like apparently someone told me I have over 200 credits on IMDb. So I've been on a lot of shows, and I'll see these people on that show going, oh, we were just one big happy family. And I'm thinking, I was on your show. That was, I don't know who you're talking to, but that was not a happy family when I was there. But I can tell you that in the world of Parks and Recreation, it was. It really, I always say my favorite episode, and it's not because it's the greatest of all the episodes of Parks. It's a wonderful episode. But it was season 2, and it was the hunting trip when Ron gets shot in the head. And the reason I love it is I call it the episode we all fell in love with each other, because we were kind of forced into this forest for a week, because we weren't on the sound stage. And I just thought at the end of that week, I just thought, this is the greatest thing ever. And of course, you pray it'll go on forever. It went on for 7 seasons. But of course, every year we thought we were being canceled. Believe me, it was nothing but fear and anxiety, but it did end up doing 7 seasons. So I wanted to share that with people. I think I think that's special. I know everyone says our show was great, and hopefully it was, but Parks was just different. And the cast, we still have a thing called the Parks Family Text. We are in each other's lives all the time. Amy just sent us a picture the other day. One of her kids and one of Mike Schur, co-creator of the show's kids, were going to a student tour thing in Greece. Like, just amazing. Like, their kids are, anyway, it's just this big cohesive group that has stayed tight over the years.
That was Jim O'Hare. Make sure to check out his new book, Welcome to Pawnee. All right, stay tuned. Up next, we've got Life Advice, Thanksgiving edition. Well, today's show is brought to you in part by World Vision. We all subscribe to a lot of services that make our lives easier and more entertaining. But as followers of Jesus, we should want to seek first the kingdom of God in all areas of life, including our spending. That's why I'm so excited about a new kind of subscription through World Vision. Not one for myself, but for others. It's called Believers for World Change. And when you sign up, you're joining a community of change makers working to help end extreme poverty around the world and here at home. World Vision is a Christian humanitarian organization that works with children, families, and communities to reach their God-given potential, focusing on things like gender equality, spiritual nurture, and access to clean water, education, job training, and healthcare, so the entire picture of poverty can be addressed. Let's subscribe to something new together. Subscribe to World Change today at worldvision.org. Again, that's worldvision.org. Well, Relevant has a lot happening this year, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter right there on the front page at relevantmagazine.com, and we'll send you our top 5 trending stories sent to your inbox every weekday. We'll also send you a weekly podcast newsletter with the latest episodes, some fan extras, and first peeks at the new shows that we're going to be rolling out throughout this year. Make sure to sign up. It's the best way to keep in touch with everything we got going on. Okay, it's time for...
It's life advice. It's life advice. The life advice Thanksgiving edition.
Life Advice Thanksgiving Edition. You guys hit us up with your very serious life conundrums that you are thinking about looking at Thanksgiving next week. So I sent all of your questions to the team. Here we go.
Well, a lot of these I can't relate to the people because I'm reading through some of these, and my family does a lot of these. But my family insists on holding hands in a circle for the Thanksgiving prayer, but I hate it. How do I politely escape without causing a scene? Well, Mike, you're not escaping, but you can prevent it in future years. One of two ways. One, go up to the member of the family who looks equally uncomfortable, some gruff uncle or something. And as the prayers happen, go from like handshake holding to interlocking fingers in the middle of the prayer with that uncle. Trust me, he's going to be the one next year that breaks this party up. Or you do the thing is in the middle of the prayer, you go to sneeze, but act like you forgot you're holding hands. So you sneeze on the back of your aunt's hand. And they go, oh, I'm sorry. Do we have COVID test? Anybody got a COVID test here? That'll break that party up. There's just a couple strategies, Mike. So
that was Mike Thompson. Mike Thompson has that one. Yeah, that's funny.
Hannah said, my family insists on eating Thanksgiving dinner at 2 p.m. Is this normal? I feel like my family eats like later in the day. What time do you guys eat like Thanksgiving dinner?
I've been to afternoon meals.
My family's always 2:00, 2:30. Because then it's like, then you have your leftovers, turkey sandwiches for dinner, light dinner at 7 or something like that, or like you just kind of graze whatever was left over. 2:30, 2:00. Why is that not normal? Why do they think that's not normal? What do they think it should be?
I think some people are more like it's Thanksgiving dinner.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I feel like mine's more dinner. Like, I mean, it's like early dinner. I would say like 5, but 2 p.m. that just feels so early. You got to get up so early then to make all the food.
In Canada, they call lunch dinner and they call dinner supper.
Well, that's Canada. We're in America, Cameron.
Yeah, they don't have Thanksgiving up there. I know. I'm just saying. Isn't that weird, though? I was watching a Canadian home renovation show the other day, and the guy was like, all right, let's go get dinner. And literally they put a subtitle on the screen that said, in Canada, they call lunch dinner. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I was confused. It was light out.
No offense to Canadians, but that just feels so wrong.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Like dinner is lunch.
Raquel says, my mom insists I sit at the kids' table because there's, quote, not enough room at the grown-up table. I'll do it, but I want to get back at her. Wow. Any ideas? Yeah. Volunteer to cook the turkey and undercook it when everyone's got salmonella next year. Who's laughing now, Mom? Who's laughing now?
No, she's going to keep you at the kids' table to punish her. Like, oh, you are clearly not an adult yet. You can't even cook the turkey.
No, she'll look at her. You know what I'm capable of, Mom. I poisoned a whole family to get back at you. Do not sit me there again.
So she has to own up to it. I did this on purpose.
Yeah, okay, it's a threat. It is a threat. I'm taking things up a notch. Okay, you humiliate me at dinner. I poison the family with undercooked poultry.
Sarah Maine Jones said, my cousin is a turkey trot enthusiast and wants me to run with them at 6 a.m. Should I fake an injury or lean into the chaos? I say this as someone who did run cross country in high school. Fake an injury. It's not worth it. Sleep in. It'll be fine. I've done a turkey trot. It's not fun.
I saw somebody like a dating coach one time, like, hey, these are the important things you need to know before you enter a dating relationship. Where they feel about faith and their, career and their family history and all these kinds of things. And literally, are they a turkey trot family or not? Because
it's important.
Like if you just marry into a family not knowing they're a turkey trot family, and then you're the odd one out on Thanksgiving, like, no, you don't want that kind of life.
Yeah. And you don't want that pressure either because it's like, look, I'm already going to feel bad about myself already because I'm eating like just a ton of like dessert today. You're like, I know I'm not going to feel good. I don't need to be shamed by having all you sweaty freaks stroll in while I'm just getting the morning coffee going.
Sweaty freaks. Your new father-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, they're all just the sweaty freaks. And
I don't need to be shamed here. And I like
running. Your pajama pants still. Yeah. Hey, welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, I personally like running, but I'm also not out here, trying to show people up Thanksgiving morning. Okay, that's not what we're doing.
Oh my gosh.
There's a local run club around here, by the way. And like I said, I got nothing against running, but it's like a social thing, and like 300 people come. And they run all over town. It's a hazard. Okay. Remember when Midnight Mass was big in Orlando? All those hipsters on fixed wheel bikes would clog up the streets. You know, it's a real hazard out there. And they all meet at like a restaurant or like a brewery or coffee shop, and they come back and hang out
every Friday night. It was like, couldn't get around. I'm just trying to go out on a date or go out to dinner on a Friday night, and all these 3,000 critical mass hipster bike riders are making a statement. They're like block huge intersections and take their time. It was horrible.
The brewery by my house at an old fire station has a brick oven pizza, thing connected to it. So you can sit, and I'm sitting there eating pizza one night, and the run club rolls back in. It's like I'm eating pizza in a locker room, like after a football game. It's disgusting.
It's so
disgusting.
And critical mass would like bar hop throughout the night. So like it isn't like an hour-long ride. They're clogging up downtown all night Friday night.
Anyway. I got a bunch of bros who just ran 8 miles, like plopping down while I'm eating a sausage pizza. It's not a great combo. Okay.
Serena Harris says, my uncle keeps bringing up aliens at Thanksgiving dinner. How do I steer the combo back to stuffing or whatever without a full conspiracy theory meltdown?
You don't. You lean in there, friend.
I knew you were going to say something like that. You want to know more. Yeah.
You're the uncle bringing up alien conspiracy.
That sounds like a great meal to me. Out of all the topics that we get to, like all the topics that are going to come up, politics, how's the family doing, relationship, kid stuff. I'd rather talk aliens, to be honest. Like,
this year there'll be a lot of content with all these hearings going on.
That's what I'm saying. Your uncle
some wild
great.
Stuff being said on the government record right now.
I'd be like, Uncle Frank, you want to help me out by the turkey fryer? Usually one man job, but I think me and you should go out and have a chit chat outside. We got a lot to catch up on. Yeah,
not to catch up on the aliens. Speaking of turkey fryer, Chris Thorne says I tried to fry a turkey last year and it didn't go great. So now my wife won't let me do it again. How can I hide it from her and get away with it? I'm thinking this is a Jesse question.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming it didn't go great, and even though you did it outside as instructed, unfortunately, what's this person's name?
Hold on a second.
David?
Chris Thorne. Chris Thorne.
Unfortunately, Chris, there's only one way to hide it, and it's going to increase the danger quite a bit because you're going to have to go up in the attic. Now, that insulation is very flammable, and if it even gets close to that searing pot of boiling oil, you're going to have a pretty serious house fire in your hands.
Yeah,
but
that's rough.
It's really your only option here. Just mind the insulation.
Got it. All right, last one. There's a few left. There's a bunch left, but last one. Let's see.
Okay, I'm hosting Thanksgiving for the first time this year. My family isn't big football fans. So what do we do post Thanksgiving?
Look at the user's name. Dill the Pickle. It's Dill. I guess it's Dylan.
I would probably bring up some alien stuff, and depending on the tone of the family, they might want to say, can we turn football on? Just make it. I would just fire up the alien talk and see where it goes, because you might get your football after all.
But no, you say the whole family isn't big football fans. He's not saying he wants to watch football. He's like, I just don't know. I'm hosting for the first time, and I don't know what to do to entertain them.
Yeah, well, you're out of luck because all my family doesn't sit around and watch football after. So I really don't know what we talk about.
My family's big game people. So we pull out a bunch of different games or card games or whatever.
My family, the aunts and moms and stuff go off to the kitchen table to do puzzles. And then the men hang out in the family room, and there will be a football game on, but like nobody cares. And so they're just sitting there talking about like political stuff. I don't have anywhere to go afterwards. It's like I have to avoid both. So I usually end up just sidling up to the puzzle, but it's not fun.
Well, next year there'll be a lot to talk about. You hear about this new aquarium policy? Man, I can't believe those little pirate chests at the bottom that outlawed. No longer a thing. I don't know where they're getting this.
That's going to be the big governmental policy, is regulating that there's no pirate ship decorations.
They quickly realized it was a misstep to have a whole cabinet to worry about aquariums, and they ran out of issues very quickly. So now they're having to micromanage it,
Got it. Yeah.
The price you pay.
All right. Well, that'll do it for...
It's life advice. It's life advice. Life advice. Thanksgiving edition.
Life Advice, Thanksgiving edition. Well, before we wrap up, I want to thank Jim O'Hare for joining us today. Make sure to check out his new book, Welcome to Pawnee. And if you have not rewatched Parks and Rec, it holds up. It only gets better and better and better. I had in my head that it like started kind of weak and it didn't like figure itself out for a couple seasons. That is not true. It's good on season 1. Go watch it. It just gets better as it goes along. All right. Also, talking about getting better with age, go check out relevantmagazine.com. Every day we are covering the intersection of faith, culture, life, justice, everything in between. And if you want to get our best content, make sure to sign up for our daily newsletter, Relevant Today, which goes out every weekday with our top 5 trending stories right to your inbox. Also, follow us on all the socials. We have a lot coming up, and you don't want to miss a thing. All right. On that note, we'll wrap it up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Emily Brown.
We'll see you on Friday. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
Let's see who's the boss now.
Relevant Podcast Network.